What's up? We are at TCH's newest location here in Houston, going to play the 150K guaranteed $300 buy-in. Let's get into this action. First break, we are 10 hands in, second buy-in. I wasn't gonna fire 2 bullets, but our first hand we got snapped off queens versus 9-7 offsuit. So I ended up getting it in when I tried a squeeze with ace-3 of diamonds to a raise call, late position. Anyways, nonetheless, second bullet. Let's see what happens. It's a warm day in Houston, Texas today. It's on second break, and I have sitting around about 46,000. Still on the second bullet, but not really too much to report. Made it up to 60. Drop back down to like 46, kind of not really hitting hands, not really card dead. There's plenty of action at the table, just not with me. Hopefully that wind doesn't mess this video up. They're doing $30 sweats. I think I might jump in. Not that I'll need a re-entry because it's the end of registration, but could sell it for 6 p.m. buy-in, but we'll see.
You can't lose.
No, it's awful. No.
There it is.
Sell your seat. $20.
Can I play the tournament now?
There's somebody right there, right?
Yeah.
5, 6.
Hey, Tim, we got like 50 seconds, man.
Oh, because you're trying to get him here?
Yeah, I have to get it. You can still go raise.
Run it out.
No, I'm already in the tournament.
You got 46 seconds. Me too.
Then let's not stress.
I know, that's why I'm trying not to miss anything.
Sweat.
Yeah, but we're in the tournament. We got to get back.
Sweat. No, open it. I got no time.
I see ace 8. I see ace 8. Ace 8. Anybody be ace 8?
I got it.
I see ace 8. I see knights. I see pocket knights.
9's full.
I see knights too.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
He's still coming.
41.
So we made it to the third break with a chip stack of 78,000. 78,000? No. We made it to third break with 78,000. Our stack is, it's all right. 13 bigs, I think 78,000 we have. Lines are gonna be 3, 6, and 6, so we need to double up. About 30 people left, 18 get paid, 11 make it to day 2. Let's hope this is our first cash in Texas. We have not cashed a tournament, so let me get that run good. Okay, so we busted the tournament, ended up getting 23rd place. They paid 18, and you know, that's just the way it is. Now it's maybe a little cash game time. Buy-in for $700. First hand I look down at is ace jack. I just busted the tournament with this hand. I'm in the big blind and it folds around. There's a few limps. I go ahead and make it $35 and get 1 caller. So we are heads up to a flop. Oh yeah, I don't have chips yet, so I'm just pretending to throw $35 in there. I'm waiting for my chips to arrive on the table.
No chips. That's the problem. The guy that sits down with no chips usually ends up winning the stupid hand. Survey.
I'll be honest, I sure hope I win this hand as a consolation prize to the fact that I didn't get a full double in the tournament, which is the hand I would have rather won on the bubble. But anyways, we go heads up to a flop that is ace 4 6 with 2 clubs, and I decide to get tricky and check it over to him as we beat most of his aces. The only hands I'm really worried about are pocket fours and pocket sixes. He checks back the turn. Sadly, though, is a 5 of clubs, but our opponent's only going to have the flush here about 30% of the time. So I go ahead and bet $40, and he elects to fold, and we take this first hand down. About this time, my chips arrive on scene, 700, stack about 740-ish, and we go card dead. So apparently these chips are unlucky chips. We dwindle down players to about 5-handed, and I've folded mostly almost every hand up until this point, which isn't that long, maybe 30 minutes into the session. We are second to act. There's a straddle on the button, and the small blind folds, the big blind raises a 20, under the gun folds, and I decide to go ahead and make the call, but I should be, if I am going to play this hand, turning my hand into like a 3-bet bluff and really putting the pressure on, also pushing out the button straddle. But I make a mistake and I just decide to call, and the button straddle also comes along, so we're 3 ways to a flop that is 8-6 jack, all diamonds. The big blind checks, and I decide to get a little loosey-goosey and make a large bet on the flop here of $50, trying to take it down on this monotone board. Sadly, though, the dealer button and the big blind call, and I'm all but done with this hand when the turn is the queen of clubs, and the big blind elects to make a all-in move. I fold, the big blind folds. She ends up showing a set of 8s, and now it's time for me to rack up and go to the main game, which looks absolutely riveting as we have a player reading a book. So on my first hand dealt, 10 deuce offsuit, I go ahead and decide to raise it up. Let's see what this game's talking about. Let's see if they're paying attention. I'm in late position. Everyone folded before me. I raise it up, and of course the button calls and also the big blind. We go to a flop that is queen 5 queen, and the big blind checks to me. I'm going to continue my line here, and I make a sizable bet of about 2/3 pot of $30. I get the button to fold and release his hand, and now the big blind goes into paralysis mode where he's not moving, he's barely breathing, he's not blinking. Now there are 2 hearts on this board, so he could have a flush draw, not be sure what to do, think about raising. He could have a queen here, although it's unlikely, and on skinny boards I like to go ahead and put the pressure on. So he does slowly, epically make the call, and we go to a turn that is a deuce. So we are now beating all of his flush draws, if he has those. The only hand I'm really worried about is him having a queen. I could probably get most 5s to fold by the river, so I continue by betting $75. He is back in paralysis mode, and once again slowly makes the call. Now the river comes in ace, which is a very bad card. If he had any ace high flush draws, they just got there, and I'm going to go ahead once he checks it to us and check it back. I can't really win by doing this, but at the same time I can't lose any more money. I think the ace is a bad card for us, so I go ahead and check it back, and I do show down my hand as I do have 2 pair. He shows us king queen offsuit for flopped trips, and we go ahead and expose to the table that we have the propensity to just make random raises with any 2 cards. So let's go ahead now and pick up a monster so that we can look like a psycho and everyone will pay us off. And sure enough, the very next hand we get dealt pocket kings. It folds to me once again, so I make my standard $15 raise in this game, and the only person that calls is our friend, who is now in the small blind, which is good news. He probably thinks we're crazy anyways. We go heads up to a flop that is 10-4 deuce, and our villain checks it over to us. I go with a semi-standard half pot bet of $15, and this time though our opponent insta-mucks, which is terrible. Then I show my hand to essentially announce that I'm pissed off I didn't get paid on that hand, which is dumb. Let's not do that anymore. Let's move on to the very next hand, where I get dealt the beautiful 4-3 of spades, and if you think this hand is going to stop my barrage of raises, you are incorrect. Under the gun folds, and I raise to my standard $15 now. It folds to our villain, who makes the call, as does the small blind and big blind. Now we have a pot. Let's go ahead. 4 ways to a flop that is beautiful. 4 4-6. Small blind and big blind check to me, and I am going to, of course, continue the line I've had on the last two hands, but I'm going to slightly downsize my flop bet this time as I want some action. So I go ahead and just bet $25. And per typical for me, everyone folds, and I can't get any action when I got the nuts. Enough with the BS hands, let's get into some action. We're playing 7-handed, buttons here, small blind, big blind here, under the gun folds. This player had to pay his missed blinds and he decides to fold, and we look down at King 10 suited. We're gonna go ahead and raise it up here to $20, and a new recent subscriber, also a local young grinder around here in Houston, Luke, decides to 3-bet us now to $80. It folds all the way around back to me, and we have been pretty active at this table, as you could have seen from the previous hands. And maybe he's 3-betting us light, maybe he's not. His stack depth is not that deep. This is probably mostly a fold, but I decide to ask him if he wants some action. He says, sure, whatever I want to do. So I go ahead and make the call. The flop comes King, Queen, 6, rainbow. Luke only has about $160 behind, so I'm not folding now that I flop top pair. I check, and he decides to check back, which is interesting. The turn comes the 10 of hearts, giving us 2 pair, and I waste no time because I'm never folding here, and I put him all in for 160. He snap calls. I ask him if he wants to run it twice. He's going back and forth. He says sure twice. I ask him if he's going to show for the vlog. I tell him I have 2 pair. He says he's drawing dead. We go ahead and look at the run out that ends up being 7 on the top board and a 7 on the bottom board. I show my hand, and he does not elect to show for the vlog, although I tried to get him to do so. He claims he had jacks. I don't know, but either way, we scoop a nice pot here, and we are off and running. If you guys are enjoying this episode, do me a favor and hit that like and subscribe and notification bell. It helps me out a lot. In this next hand, it seems to be a theme of the vlog, running hands. I get dealt ace, queen of diamonds, and of course we're going to go ahead and raise this up to $20. There is 1 flat, and the button, who I know for sure is a reg, but I'm not sure if he's an official pro. We're going to give him the tag of a pro. He decides to 3-bet to $85. I would definitely consider this a 4-bet or fold spot, but I think against this player's 3-betting, we have too much equity to just fold, and I don't really like a 4-bet out of position, as the stacks are not really deep enough for it, because if we get jammed on, then it's just pretty much we have to call it off. I go ahead and make the call. The overcaller folds, and we head to a flop that is ace deuce 5. I check it over to the 3-better, and he continuation bets for $65. Could argue for a check raise here, but once again, I feel like with the stack to pot ratio, it just puts us in a situation. I'd rather just go ahead and play this hand a little bit more cautiously. So I make the call, and the turn is a king. I check, and now he decides to check back. And now I do think ace king is in his range, but I can't just only give him that when he checks back here, as I think he would, because now his hand's just really strong, and I called the flop, most likely giving me an ace. The river pairs the board with a 5, and I feel like I definitely should be leading here. It would give me more information if he raises rather than just check calling hoping to win, but that's what I end up doing. I go ahead and check it to him, and he checks it back. We roll ace queen, and it is good for this pot. I end up losing some small pots. I think I raise a hand with ace queen offsuit and get 3 callers, and don't really flop much, so we end up folding that. You know, just hands like that. We end up racking up in this game. It's been an extremely long day with the tournament and a cash game. We are in this game for 700 and out for 730 for a profit of $30, but we spent $30 on the sweat, so we really didn't make anything today on the cash game, just lost 600 in the tournament.